Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fandom United. My name is Gio, and this is Daily News Recap for August 4th. Quite a bit of Martin Scorsese news today. We're going to talk about that. I guess everybody picked today to share their opinions on Martin Scorsese's criticism of the comic book genre. We're going to talk about that. We got some Marvel, some DC to talk about, a little bit of Henry Cavill news. It's exciting stuff. I hope all of you are having a good week so far. I watched The Suicide Squad again last night, second time, and I enjoyed it more. I caught some things that I missed, but overall, it was just as good, if not better, than my first experience. I highly recommend you guys watch it if you have an HBO Max account, or if you just want to go to the movies, and watch something entertaining. I think you'll find something to love in The Suicide Squad. I was sharing my thoughts on Twitter, and of course, I saw a bunch of DC fans fighting with each other, and it's exhausting sometimes. So it's a healthy note. Stay away from Twitter. Don't be on that place for too long. But let's get to some James Gunn talk. It is official. James Gunn will be returning to DC after he finishes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I showed this article from The Hollywood Reporter because it specifically mentions a quote from DC Films president Walter Hamada, and he says, "Gunn is always welcome back, whatever he wants to do. He really has a vision, and he's a great partner with us. Whenever he wants to come back, we're ready for him," says Hamada, who added, "He'll be back. We have more stuff planned." First off, where you been, Walter? Huh? You've been quiet ever since Ray Fisher called you out. But that aside, that's a different conversation. Look, I stand behind James Gunn coming back and directing more DC projects. I mean, guys, I'm telling you, watch The Suicide Squad, okay? I'm recommending watch The Suicide Squad. It's highly entertaining. We got a Peacemaker series starring John Cena coming out this upcoming January, which I'm excited about. And honestly, he could do a spin-off series for each of the characters because he made me care that much about the characters of the Suicide Squad. He did an amazing job, and I would certainly welcome James Gunn back after he finishes Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the holiday special for Disney Plus. So it'll be a couple years, but expect to see more of James Gunn doing DC work in the future. Speaking of James Gunn, he shared his thoughts about Martin Scorsese and his criticisms about the comic book genre, saying Martin Scorsese said comic book movies aren't cinema. And so let's listen to what James Gunn had to say in the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast.
Become the de facto one of the guys that always comes out to have to defend the comic book movies when some of the luminaries come out that we all love and respect, like the Jodie Fosters and Scorseses of the world, say certain things. Does it feel a little exhausting sometimes to be the guy to be like, I love you, Marty, but hear me out here, or what?
I don't know. I just think, it's awful. He just seems awful cynical that he would keep coming out against Marvel, and then that's the only thing that would get him pressed for his movie.
Right.
So then he just kept coming out against Marvel so that he could get pressed for his movie. So he's creating his movie in the shadow of the Marvel films. And so he uses that to get attention for something that he wasn't getting as much attention as he wanted for it. And he's one of the greatest filmmakers who's ever existed. Mm-hmm. I love his movies. I can watch his movies with no problem. And he said a lot of things I agree with. There is a lot of things that are true about what he said. There are a lot of heartless, soulless, spectacle films out there that don't reflect what should be happening. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've talked to film directors before they went in and made a big movie and said, "Hey, we're in this together. Let's do something different with these big movies. Let's make them something different than everything that's come before them."
Yeah.
And then see them just go and just cater to every single studio whim or what's thought of and just be grossed out, frankly. So, he said, well, a lot of what he said was good. And then also, like, he hasn't seen my movie. He doesn't know what my movie is.
Sure.
So, it was irritating.
I will agree partially with James Gunn's response to Martin Scorsese. There was definitely a time when comic book movies were starting to feel formulaic, right? Another word for it would be, or term would be, by the numbers. But I feel like in recent years, they've begun really experimenting, because they have to. You keep doing the same thing with the comic book genre and not making these movies refreshing or something different, then it becomes more of the same. And we saw that with, obviously, Joker for DC. Look, I'm going to say this right here. The fact that it's in a 4:3 format, 4 hours long, split into 6 chapters, hey, and it turned out to be great. Hell yeah. I mean, that was just unprecedented, getting to see a director's full vision. And then you go to Fox before they were bought out by Disney. Logan, R-rated. That didn't feel as much a comic book movie as it did like something along the lines of Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's masterpiece, Unforgiven. Then you go to Deadpool. Deadpool was really a movie that Ryan Reynolds described as a romance, the first one. And then, so you see DC, Fox, Marvel, Sony, they're all trying to do more than just the by the numbers. And maybe Martin Scorsese hasn't given comic book movies a fair shake. He sees one, he's seen them all. In fact, here's Jason Momoa with his comments on Scorsese. This is something that was reported today. So it's just everybody's giving their opinions. Here's Jason Momoa. He says, it's like how people say that music is poppy and this music cool. But you know how hard it is to get your music out there for people to hear? It's all subjective. I'll read that again. It's all subjective. I try not to pick on anything. So yeah, superhero movies are bubblegum, but they're like Greek mythology. They have good and evil and heartbreaking moments. And gosh, you're taking away other art forms if you stop making them. You're taking away visual effects. You're taking away what you can do with makeup. I'm not someone who gets hired to play in a lot of cinema, but by being able to do a superhero movie, I can make a movie about something I really care about. I have a vision for the whole totality of Aquaman. There are environmental issues that I get to put into. So while you're going, oh yeah, it's just this popcorn movie, I'm like, well, I get to open people's eyes about to things that are important to me. This from the New York Times. So while I don't mind a comic book movie, a superhero movie having commentary on real world issues, like in the case of Aquaman, how they touched on pollution, polluting the oceans, all the trash, oil, etc. I don't mind that if you want to go there, as long as you touch on it. Okay, if it becomes the movie and it takes over and it's like really in your face, then it's like, okay, like, are you trying to entertain me or are you trying to lecture me? That's something veteran film critic Chris Gorr said. Your job is to entertain me, not lecture me. Entertain me. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the commentary, but it's a very fine line. And again, Jason Momoa given his opinions on it. Okay, he's somebody who, you take away the Aquaman role. Before that, I mean, he had a brief stint in Game of Thrones. Aquaman made Jason Momoa into a Hollywood star. So while these movies might just be popcorn fun to most people, to other people, they mean more. That's what it just comes down to. So leave me your thoughts on Scorsese's comments on James Gunn and Jason Momoa's response. And let's move on to something else regarding Martin Scorsese that isn't so controversial. Brendan Fraser has joined Martin Scorsese's upcoming Killers of the Flower Moon. He's also joined the Legendary Pictures comedy Brothers. How about that, guys? Brendan Fraser getting some work in Hollywood. As a refresher, Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and now Brendan Fraser. According to my notes here, Killers of the Flower Moon is set in the 1920s Oklahoma and will examine the serial murder of members of the oily, wealthy Osage Nation, a string of brutal crimes that came to be known as the Reign of Terror. Whew. Killers of the Flower Moon is from Apple TV and Paramount Pictures, a crime drama based on the best-selling book of the same name. How about that for Brendan Fraser, huh? What a gig, man. I mean, everybody on the internet wants to see more of Brendan Fraser. He is amazing as a Robot Man in Doom Patrol, which I've seen both seasons. I need to see the third one as soon as it comes out. Man, but the Hollywood, as far as the fans go, the fans, they miss Brendan Fraser. I mean, if you read up on anything regarding what he's been through in his personal life, which, I mean, to be honest, it's none of our business, but we just care about the guy. It's really some tough stuff for Brendan Fraser, but I'm glad he's getting work. And that other Legendary Comedies Brothers, directed by Palm Springs' Max Marbaco. I'm not good with names, but if you've seen Hulu's Palm Springs, that movie is really good, underrated. Check it out. But Brothers will star Peter Dinklage, Josh Brolin, and Glenn Close. That's another project I'll keep my eyes on. Good for Brendan Fraser. I'm happy for him. Speaking of Apple Plus TV, again, guys, streaming wars. They have purchased Matthew Vaughn's spy star-studded ensemble, Argyle, in a massive package deal. This according to Deadline. Apparently, it was for a price of $200 million. But this project will be directed by Matthew Vaughn from Kingsman. I am so happy that he's getting away from Kingsman. Okay, I think we've had enough Kingsman. Matthew Vaughn, do something else. But how about this ensemble? Check this cast out for the movie Argyle. Henry Cavill, Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, John Cena, Samuel Jackson, and musician Grammy Award-winning Dua Lipa. The film is based on a soon-to-be launched spy novel of the same name from author Ellie Conway. Follows the world's greatest spy as he's caught up in the globe-trotting adventure. So Apple just bought this movie and hoping to turn it into a franchise, of course, for $200 million. Is it worth it? Well, I'm a huge fan of Matthew Vaughn, as I'm sure a lot of you are out there. Kingsman, Kick-Ass. What was that other movie he did? Oh, X-Men First Class. The introduction of Michael Fassbender's Magneto and James McAvoy's Professor X. This guy is a filmmaker, and I'm so excited, especially that Henry Cavill is going to be in this movie. It's a great investment, Apple. That's what it comes down to, guys, with the streaming wars. Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, HBO Max, Prime Video. Investing, spending money on content. It's a war out there, hence the streaming wars. Let's go to Marvel. Andy Serkis comments on Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and how the Lord of the Rings, he played Gollum, Smeagol, and his history in motion capture has prepared him to direct the Venom sequel, Let There Be Carnage. He said this in an interview with Apple TV. I've spent a considerable amount of my life playing a character with two sides to his personality, and there's common ground there. The digital characters have got to seriously act. They've got to be totally believable. I wanted to find a physical vocabulary for Carnage that was entirely different to Venom. Everything's always underpinned by reality and the truth. I think it's the perfect movie in a way because it's very celebratory of what cinema can do. You hear that, Martin Scorsese? But hey, look, okay, while the trailers for Venom haven't wowed us, like, Carnage looks great. And I'm sure Tom Hardy is going to be good as Eddie Brock Venom. And I'm sure the fights are going to look amazing. I get the feeling more and more because Andy Serkis, what he just talked about with Carnage, I get the feeling more and more Venom, Let There Be Carnage will be one of those movies that suffers from not the best marketing. We saw it with Edge of Tomorrow. Okay, that's like the biggest example for me. A movie that wasn't marketed very well. Dread is another one, Carl Urban's Dread. And I get the feeling that people aren't really excited for Venom, Let There Be Carnage. If you're one of those people, let me know. If you are excited, let me know. Because from reading the terrain, Twitter, it's just, okay, it's coming out. It's a Marvel movie. It's the first live action appearance of Carnage. But I don't feel the excitement. And I'm worried about it. I'm going to watch Andy Serkis's directorial effort in Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I was a fan of what he did with Mowgli. I thought it worked. So, fingers crossed. And our last Marvel topic and the last topic of the day, we have a set photo of Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher, the villain of Thor Love and Thunder. I'm going to show it to you right now. So if you don't want to see it, I'll catch you guys Friday. Here we go. Not exactly what I was expecting. And that's a good thing. I am intrigued by that. That is pre-visuals right there. How about that for costume and makeup? Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher. I'm intrigued. What do we know about Christian Bale as an actor? This guy commits. He commits to his character's look in any movie that he does. And I got a feeling with Thor Love and Thunder, we'll be talking about Christian Bale's Gorr the God Butcher. He may very well be one of the handful of great villains in the MCU. We'll wait and see. But that's going to do, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on Daily News Recap. Ooh, I'm sorry. No, not Daily News Recap anymore. News Recap, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do either reactions, reviews, other videos. Gives me a chance to, focus on other things other than just news on my channel. But I appreciate you guys so much. One of the things that I did upload yesterday was my non-spoiler review of the Suicide Squad. So check that out on the channel. I was amazed. I was surprised. And so much more. Again, watch the Suicide Squad in theaters on HBO Max. I highly recommend it. But that's going to do it. Until next time, you guys take care.